Hi makeup geeks! Welcome to this new series on my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Marlena. I'm the owner of Makeup Geek Cosmetics, but I've actually been on YouTube since 2008 teaching makeup, and I figured right now we all have seen every tutorial under the sun. We're just like... So I know a lot of us want to have a combination of different things, and me personally, I started doing a goal just for myself for 2021 that I am reading a new book every single week. And I was like, why don't I take all of you guys on this ride with me? Because I'm reading a lot of books that are self-help, but they're not these cheesy oh, rain and sunshine and no, they're actual get in there in the nitty-gritty and focus on things that will really help me have a better understanding of my life and what I want. And the books that I've read so far, they are life changing. And the one that I'm showing you guys today, the first one, I chose this to be first because it changed my life the most. So it's called The 6-Minute Diary, and it's been written by this guy named Dominic, which I'll get into his story in a little bit. But basically the first half of the book is this actual book, and it's based off of science and facts and all this research of what he did about happiness being a choice. And then the last half of the book, why I love it so much, is it actually has a bunch of exercises that you do on a day-to-day basis, and you're supposed to do it 3 minutes in the morning and 3 minutes at night before bed, so a total of 6 minutes. So that's why it's called the 6-Minute Diary. Even since I've been doing this, and I've been strict about it, doing it every single day with my exercises, and I read the book, my habits are so much better now. I'm exercising more, I'm drinking more water, I'm taking the time to read, I'm self-reflecting, I'm doing a lot of things that this book recommended because it was so inspirational for me. It has literally changed my life. So that's why I want to start with this one today. So our topic that we're talking about as I do this makeup look, it's a combination of makeup and basically a book club is what the series is the topic is happiness a choice? So the author of this book's name is Dominic, and he was a guy in Germany that went on this trip to Cambodia when he was studying abroad. And during this time, he got in a really, really bad motorcycle accident. Before this accident, Dominic had said that he was trying to build this ideal life. Sorry, I have to stop to carve this out because it takes some concentration. He thought that if he had the best job and went to school and got this great career and married the perfect spouse, he would have happiness. Happiness was always this outward goal that was in the future, that he was going to create these things to have happiness. So after this accident happened, he was in the hospital for 16 weeks and had 12 surgeries. During his recovery, he was in this super positive mood. And everyone was thinking why are you in this positive mood? If you just had a car accident, you lost your leg, you've been in the hospital for 4 months basically. He said that it was actually an eye-opener for him to think about what things that he did have. He could have lost his other leg, he hit his head really bad, and he could have had brain damage, but he didn't. He decided that he was going to spend his life getting with scientists and psychologists to do this research about why are some people happy naturally and some aren't, despite the circumstances that they go through. He wanted to have proof about happiness actually being a choice. Scientists and psychologists actually say it's called conditional happiness, and this is what most of us believe, is that if we accomplish certain things, if we make a certain amount of money and we live in this big beautiful house and we marry the perfect person, that we will then have happiness. And what they found out in all this research and studies, that that's actually not the case, that the people who are most happy have gone through horrible things, but they choose to be happy. I took some makeup remover on a Q-tip. I'm going to clean up the shape. It's hard for me to do while I talk, so I'm going to do that and come back. But basically, I just created this cat eye shape with an eyeshadow base. So the basis of this whole book is on a brain phenomenon called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is basically a rewiring of the brain through daily repetition. And research has shown that you can actually rewire your brain in about 66 days if you do the same thing every single day. So this journal, the last half of it, is meant to do every single day to basically rewire your brain. Dominic found out in his research that the brain actually focuses on bad versus good. And the reason it does that is it's because it's a means of survival. Your brain focuses on scanning to see if there's anything that's going to harm you. It's a survival mode, and it'll spot the negative first so it can react and allow you to make decisions that will keep you from getting hurt. In line with this, the pain of loss is on average 3 to 4 times stronger than you remembering something good. So that's why, like, when we have comments on social media that are horrible, we may have thousands of comments that are really good, but that one that is negative, we always focus and remember that because that's just how our brains are wired. Think of things that are grateful, creating new habits that help you focus on happiness for yourself. You can actually rewire your brain to think of good first before bad. This book is based on 3 foundations that Dominic says will pretty much create happiness for you. It's positive psychology, habits, and self-reflection. If you can focus on those 3 things and change those 3 things, that's what helps you create happiness. Positive psychology is based on 4 points. Number 1 is gratitude is fundamentally important to a person's happiness. I remember a quote by Oprah a while ago. You remember how Oprah used to say that she always did this gratitude journal? That's the first time I ever heard about it years ago, and I actually started doing it, and I did notice a difference. I will say that. But what Oprah said was that if you focus on the good things in your life, more good things will come to you. If you focus on the bad, then you're kind of putting that energy out there and more bad things tend to happen. The second point of positive psychology is the richness of life is more important than the riches of life. I can definitely testify to this one because I've been through various, we'll say, financial places in my life where I've had absolutely no money. I've had like a moderate amount. I've had a little bit more. I've been on this kind of spectrum throughout my life, and I can definitely say that outside of just having your needs met, like the comfort of life, you know, having running water and electricity and your health in order, but outside of that, me having more money versus when I had no money at all, my happiness really didn't change because of that. And so I definitely believe that this point is true, is it's more about what the richness of your life, your relationships with people, your health, the things that really money can't buy are definitely more important. I mean, obviously we need money to be comfortable and have our needs met because without it, that's stressful too. But I think the point of what he's getting across here is that focus on the richness of your life, the true things that are going to make you happy. The third point is a person's relationships are super important to their well-being, which that, if 2020 has taught us anything, is that relationships are super important, whether that be with your friends, your family. If we do not have relationships with other people, if we feel like we're alone, the quality of our life obviously is not as good and we're not as happy. We are humans, we are social beings, we need to be with other people and have relationships to be happy. The fourth point is the most important one, but it's also the most controversial, and that is happiness can be learned. What research has shown is that it's possible to acquire happiness and not have it be a result of good or bad fate, of things that happen to you. So despite what happens in your life, you can learn how to have happiness in your life. And that explains why there's so many people that have gone through some horrible things but are happy, whereas some others may have gone through some horrible things too but are just completely miserable. One part under this chapter of positive psychology that I thought was so interesting was that without negative emotions, you can't have positive ones. Because if you had life was always good things happening all the time, it wouldn't really be happy. It wouldn't be up. It would just be neutral. You would just be like, okay. Because without the bad things going on in your life, you can't really feel the happiness because there's no fluctuation between the two. Does that make sense? Or am I just rambling at this point? I'm using hair glue for my brows, not Gorilla Glue. Please don't use Gorilla Glue on your hair or your brows. Dominic says that the sooner you accept that you can't avoid sadness and pain, it's just a part of life, the sooner you can accept happiness into your life, because you stop worrying less about all these bad things that are happening to you. If you just kind of accept it and know, okay, bad things happen to everyone. This is a part of life. And without the bad things, I can't really experience the full happiness because it makes me grateful for when I do have good things that happen. That snoring you hear, by the way, is my dog Lady. She's by my feet. She follows me everywhere. She always snores. The second foundation of this book, so the first one is positive psychology. The second topic is habits. We have another book that's coming later, I don't want to give it away, that focuses just on habits. which was huge for me. Totally, I changed my habits completely based off of this book and the other one that I'm reading. But science has shown that 95% of our daily actions that we do are actually habits that we don't even think of. So think about it. You get up in the morning and the first thing you do is you check social media. Before you go to bed, you brush your teeth. You don't even think about it. If people ask you, what did you do with your day? You're not like, I brushed my teeth today. What happens in the brain with that is that habit and willpower are two totally different things. So willpower is basically when you start something new is that you have to tell yourself, I'm going to refrain from this. I am not going to eat a pack of Oreos every night. It takes willpower to do those things. I want to read this from the book because I don't want to mess it up. Willpower is what you exert every time you make a new decision. But habits are different. They don't require willpower because it's already a set pattern in motion that you do all the time that you don't even think about. So there's two different categories. So one thing that you can do to form new habits is in the beginning, it starts off really hard because it's willpower. If I tell myself every day I'm going to get on the treadmill for 30 minutes a day, I'm going to make that part of my routine. In the beginning, it's really hard because it's now willpower. It's something I have to think about. I have to change as part of my daily routine. So if I know that every morning at 7 o'clock, I'm going to get on the treadmill for a half hour. If I do that consistently over time, it goes from being in the willpower category over to the habit category. Now it's much easier to do. It's part of my daily routine. I don't have to think about it. So it saves our brain power, its mental capacity, if that makes sense. So your brain is lazy. It doesn't want to have to work. It's going to find the easiest route to do something. So if you have to think about it all the time, it is hard. Let me just do this really quick, the eyeliner and the waterline, because it's painful to watch. And I just take a black eyeliner and I dip it into some gel liner, you guys, and run it in there so that way it's a little bit more pigmented. The fewer small decisions that you have to make in a day, the easier it is to make larger ones. So this is what a lot of successful people, big billionaires do. They give an example in the book of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg supposedly wears the same t-shirt or same type of t-shirt every single day. He doesn't even think about his fashion because he doesn't want to worry about all these menial tasks, so he could focus on really big, important ones. So a lot of successful people, they will eat the same thing every day. They'll wear the same type of outfits every day. All of those kind of minor decisions that they have to make, they streamline it. They just do the same thing so that they have the actual mental capacity and the time to focus on bigger, more important decisions. I thought that was a really interesting part of the book. Just like a muscle with these daily exercises that you do, your brain can actually grow with habits that you change. And your neuronal pathways can actually be restructured again after that kind of 66-day mark. So that's why habits are so important, because you can actually restructure your brain. Studies have shown that people who are actually really successful of having all these amazing habits in their life start with what he calls keystone habits. So keystone habits are these four things: exercising, reading, writing, and meditation. People who do those things on a day-to-day basis find it a lot easier to do other sorts of habits, such as studying French every day, because that's what I'm doing, or taking piano lessons, or whatever habits that they want to form in their day-to-day life. Those other kind of smaller habits are a lot easier as long as you have these keystones once formed. So what Dominic and some of these psychologists and scientists recommend is that you focus on those four areas of your life: exercising, meditation, reading and writing, whether that be journaling, whatever it is that you read, just do something to expand your mind. If you make those four things part of your daily habits, a lot of the other habits that you want to accomplish will be just falling into place, or a lot easier because those key ones are formed. The last foundation of this book, so we had the positive psychology, then we had habits. The last one is self-reflection. That's part of the exercises that you do at the end of the night, where you self-reflect on your day about what went good, what would you do better. Another study that was shown is that science says that people who self-reflect regularly are better at handling their emotions, they're better at planning things, they are more disciplined and focused, and they can anticipate potential problems better. Taking the time to self-reflect each day is so crucial to personal development because it helps you understand who you are. If you don't understand who you are, what you want, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, then how are you going to be able to actually achieve those things in life? A little side tangent I'm going to get on. What I've noticed now, especially with social media, is that we see all these images of this perceived perfect life. Like you have to travel to exotic places and have the perfect body and eat certain foods and all of this stuff in order to be happy. But it's just not true, because happiness looks different for everyone. What makes me happy is not going to make, the other person happy. It's relative to each person. So self-reflection is so, so important. And I will say that this is one thing that I was really bad at. I don't take time to self-reflect because I'm such a busy person. I'm like a little hamster in a wheel. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And I don't take the time to stop and just be in peace and have some quiet to myself to self-reflect about what is going good in my life or what do I need to change. It's so, so important. But I would say that probably most of us don't even take time to do this because we're so busy just like trying to survive the day. So that is one key thing of this book that has actually changed my life. I mean, the habits for sure, my habits have changed. I'll explain at the end because I want to finish the book first, and then I'll tell you like how my life has actually changed because of it. But the author says that self-reflection is best to do it in the quiet and alone. So that's why he says to do the exercises in the book for 3 minutes in the morning, right when you wake up. Don't pick up your phone. Don't check social media. Just do the book to start, so that way you're alone and you can really think about what am I grateful for, what's going to make me happy, what it needs to happen today to accomplish my goals. And then at night before bed too, it's really important because that's what you're going to be thinking about before you go to sleep. So don't be thinking about, your family on Facebook that are just ticking you off with their stupid stuff that they're posting. You want to think about yourself and what makes you happy. Dominic actually even says in the book, sorry, I gotta grab my brush, is that 78% of people check their phones for the first 15 minutes when they get up and right before bed. 78% of us, I have to say I'm guilty of that too. That's the first thing that we do. So if we are starting our day looking at social media and looking at everyone else's lives, how are we going to figure out what's making us happy? Because we're getting it kind of convoluted with what everyone else is doing to make themselves happy. So we have to start with just ourselves. It's not a bad thing to step away from social media for a bit and just say, okay, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna focus on myself. I'm gonna put on the Makeup Geek Mischievous lashes right now. They're kind of 3/4 lashes because I really want that wing to kind of go up. It's a pain in the butt to do these on camera, so if you don't know how to do lashes, I have videos on that. I'm gonna do that and come right back. Yes, lashes, yes. The most interesting story in this entire book that I loved is called The Nun Story. So they did this study on 180 ones, and it started in about the 1930s and 40s. This group of 180 ones, their average age was about 22 years old. What they did is they had them write their autobiographies. They took all of these autobiographies and they grouped them into different categories based on whether they were neutral, negative, or positive. And what they did is they studied these nuns for the entire course of their life. Like this study went on for like 80 years or so. What they found out is that the top category of nuns, the ones who were in the positive category, they lived 10 years longer than the ones who were negative. 10 years. This isn't like, oh, just a couple years. They lived 10 years longer than the negative ones. And at the age of 85, 90% of those nuns were still alive. So they lived to be 85 years old. I mean, that's pretty far advanced. Like that's pretty old. That's living a long life. 54% of the happiest nuns lived to be 94. 54% of those happiest nuns, that group, lived to be 94, while in the unhappiest group, the negative ones, only 15% of them lived to be that age. That is huge. And for me, what's so fascinating about this nun story is that they all lived in the same convent. So a lot of people could say like, oh, genetics has a part to do with that. Like obviously genetics has a part of how healthy we are and how long we're going to live. But those kind of statistics, I mean, that has to at least say something. But what's so interesting is they all ate the same type of food. They lived in the same environment. They dressed the same, like everything was the same. So that's why the study was so fascinating to people, to scientists and psychologists, was that they pretty much were in this controlled environment. It couldn't be like, oh, well, they had a different upbringing than this person or whatever. They all lived in the same exact setting. The only thing that was different, obviously, was their genetics, but was their perception of life, like how they perceive life. Are they more more positive of a person, or are they more negative? And how does that actually impact the longevity of our life and the quality of our life? Very fascinating, right? One other quote from this book that I wanted to share that I loved is, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So it goes back to that, like, we can't control the things that happen to us, but we can control how we respond and how we react to it. So that's definitely something that definitely is going on my board in my office, is that quote there. I wanted to end each video with how I actually took this book and changed my life. So I have been doing this journal for 5 weeks now. And I definitely do see things a lot more positive, but the hugest thing for me was actually the habit. So what I've been doing is focusing on those 4 keystone habits. Like, you guys know that I've struggled with weight my whole life. It's been an up and down, and I'm definitely heavier now than I was at my thinnest. And so what I do is I take every day to exercise. I have a goal of 5 days a week, because I know 7 is like, it's a lot. So I have 5 days a week where I exercise at least 30 minutes a day. I make sure to sleep well. I haven't started meditating yet, so I'm going to work on that keystone habit next. But I do read every single night before I go to bed, and I do write in my journal. So I have been doing that. And I wanted to show you guys some of the questions that are in there, because I forgot to tell you, but the weekly questions are so interesting, and each week it has different questions on here. So like this page, it says, what was the best holiday of your life and why was it so unique? Another question, who has had the greatest influence on your life and how exactly did this person influence you? Who do you think is the person you have influenced the most? It has these just really thought-provoking questions, and every single week there's 5 different questions. So I really like that in the end of that book. And then the other one for me that was life-changing was the self-reflection. I was not self-reflecting at all. I was not taking the time to do that. And this book has forced me to do it, even in just that 3 minutes before bed, where I self-reflect my day. And then also those questions help me really think about life, like what is actually making me happy? Because I'm definitely one of those people in that group where especially in my 20s, because I grew up with not a lot of money. And I think I told you guys before I started Makeup Geek that me and my then husband at the time, we were living in this really crappy apartment. We had no furniture. We had blow-up mattress that we slept on, and our end tables were boxes that we used. And the only actually piece of furniture we had was this one comfy chair that we got from Goodwill for like $20. And we would always fight over who got to sit in it, because whoever didn't get that chair would have to sit on the blow-up mattress. So that was my life just a couple years before I started Makeup Geek. So fast forward to now, I look back and think I had for so long this goal of, if I make this amount of money and I marry the perfect person and I get into this big, beautiful house, I'm automatically going to be happy. And I can honestly say that at the peak of Makeup Geek, and I was making, great money. I mean, I'm still very blessed right now, but throughout all of that was honestly the toughest times of my life. That's where I was in a toxic relationship. My health was crap. I was really unhappy. I had bought all this stuff like shoes and purses and things because I could. I never had money before. So my automatically thought was like, oh wow, I can buy these nice things now. I can get like these high-end purses and stuff, which I did. And you know what, you guys? It did not make me any happier. If anything, it made my life more stressful, because I had to worry about losing it or something happening to it. Like, it's really expensive. What if I spill something on it? And it added so much stress to my life. So I would say that's one of the biggest things that I could say that I wish I had done differently, was that not focus on stuff or trying to make a lot of money. I mean, obviously we need it to survive, but not have it be such a goal. Like, that alone does not create happiness. It's just, I don't know. I had a lot of pondering moments of my life as I was reading this book, because it was so true. All the things that they said, as far as you changing your habits and having time to self-reflect and focus on the things that you're grateful for, and realize what does happiness actually entail. Is it all of this stuff that you have to chase after? Like, happiness is always a what if, or is it something that we can have right here and now? and have it be a choice that I'm going to choose to be happy despite, you know, some of the things that we've all gone through. So that was kind of my takeaway from the book, not to get all preachy or anything. But this is the final look. I actually really like how this turned out. I don't usually do this kind of, you know, very strong cat eye shape, but I like it. I like it a lot. Anyways, you guys, I hope you like this series. Next week, the topic we're going to talk about is all of my crap getting in the way of me living a great life. That is the topic. The book is actually about minimalism, but it's not what you think. It's not like this, what is her name, Marie Kondo, or that method. It's actually not about that. It's really interesting take on minimalism and how it actually makes for a meaningful life. So that's next week's topic. So don't forget that. It'll be back on Sunday. So thanks you guys for watching. Comment below if there's any books that you want me to read that changed your life, and I'll try to include them in the lineup of our Pretty Smart series. Have a great week, you guys. I'll see you next Sunday.